Hello everyone, it is Carla Sanders, Cosmic Crone, and I am here with the Taurus Full Moon Divine Feminine Astrology reading. And oh, this astrology is divine. I have loved this Scorpio in retrograde so much. It's been incredibly rich for me and incredibly rich for a lot of people that I know. Not always pretty, not always easy, quite painful for many people. And I've certainly had my own frustrations. So far, I have been blessed not to have expansion and opening and not so much pain. Let's find out what's going on. This is the full moon in Taurus. Moon opposite the sun in Scorpio during Mercury retrograde in Scorpio. Such a potent time. This Scorpio time, this Mercury retrograde, which is all about the things we don't talk about. And honestly, this is the most attention-getting Mercury retrograde I've seen in a long time. And I think that's why. Because there's so much exciting astrology and it's so tapped into the divine feminine. And that's what I'm going to describe today. And excuse me, my nose is itching. We're having a look out there. It's snowing in Maine. It's snowing in a lot of the country. This is a cold snap. Even friends down in Tennessee, where the leaves are still green, have snow on them. I spent a lot of time with the astrology today because one thing led to another, and I'm looking up another thing, and I realize it's time for another masterclass series inspired by what's happening now, because I just can't go deep enough into the material when I'm confined to an astrology chart. So I'm going to give you some highlights and let you anticipate, and also really encourage you to use this time and use this material for your own introspection, your own deep dive into yourself and into what is ready to come up. Please avoid the mistake of suppressing. It's so easy to say, that doesn't feel good, or I don't have time. Don't do it, because it will show up. It's coming up because it's time to hear. It's time to listen. And time to give voice to those things we don't talk about. So, what don't we talk about? The scorpionic themes: sex, death, money, and things like ambition. And something that underlies all of that is desire. So I want to just leave that. Hi, Melissa. Welcome. And as you come on, say hello. I'll interrupt things. I don't want to be too terribly serious, even though this is a wicked serious reading. Desire. That's something Scorpio loves, desire. All of the themes of Scorpio have at their root desire. Things that we want. Things that we feel. And desire is something that many of us learn to suppress or repress, or to simply doubt ourselves about, because it's why desire is associated with evil and sin, and we humans are not supposed to have our own desires. We're supposed to tap into the mind of God and desire what God desires. And I've recently, in the past 20 years, discovered that desire is actually God's voice inside of us. So as you're going through Scorpio, listen to your divine longings, your soul calls. These are desire, big D desires. And then there are the garden variety, I live in a body kind of desires, and you're allowed to have those too. So these are the things we don't talk about, and that I'm going to do a teaching about that. It's time for me to explore it even more deeply myself. So this is a story of the full moon as of 8:36 this morning, at 8:35 Eastern Time here in Maine. This story, big D desires. What are your big D desires? Important to know that. Let those percolate to the surface. So the full moon tells a story. It's like a snapshot. Let's read the story when we open to that page in the great book of the chart. And realize that this story, it's like it sets off themes and learnings and revelations that are going to continue through 2020. So it's a good time to get a Desire and Destiny Divine Feminine Astrology Intensive. And if you're interested in that, PM me and I'll send you the link. End of sales pitch. The cast of characters playing right now, Sun and Mercury, they are still in conjunction. Yesterday on 11/11, Mercury transited the face of the Sun. We couldn't see it here in a big part of the country, the eastern seaboard, because of the the cloud cover. Mercury stands for communication. And so expand that idea as far as it goes. Like, ooh, I just thought of bees. So we say language, words, writing, speaking, and the things that allow us to expand our communication out into the world, like electricity, our appliances, our technologies, radio and television and the digital age, the internet, the phones, and really old, the quill pen to the typewriter. But what about this? What about genetic material? That's where the bees come in. I think of the bees now as being mercurial, as performing this function of communicating between flower and flower and passing on genetic material. The mycelium web of the soil, the mushrooms and fungi, they are communicating. They have a mercurial quality. And in our modern world, we have commerce, money. Mercury is, I don't know if he's the ruler of money, but he's very much impacted. Money is impacted by mercurial energy. You can learn something about your money world by looking at where Mercury is. So, and the Sun is consciousness, most simply stated. So all of this is coming into the light, coming into consciousness. Mercury is dredging up these communications through time that have come through our DNA, our ancestral lineage, past lives. When I work with people in timeline therapy and do work with the unconscious mind, we go way back. Wherever the unconscious mind has picked up and stored memories, thoughts, and ideas that are showing up in our lives right now, we do that work. And so that is what Mercury retrograde in Scorpio is all about. So opposite the Moon and Mercury is an extraordinary conjunction. I'm sorry, I said the Sun and Mercury. There is this beautiful conjunction between the Moon and Vesta. The Moon is our emotional life, our emotions, and imagine what emotions are all about. Emotions are their energy in motion. Emotions inspire us and propel us and give us power. Feeling begets feeling. And it happens to be connected very much to our desire. Nothing happens with desire unless it is our emotion. I've got a beeper on the stove. I didn't know it was going to do that. I'm still learning how my stove works. I don't know if you can hear it, but it distracts me. Maybe it will shut up. So, this morning, at 8:35 a.m., the moon was conjunct Vesta. And Vesta has been, if you've been following me for a while, you know that I've been sharing with you about the reunion with the dark goddess. Vesta, a few months ago, made a conjunction with the Lilith star Algol, the demonized goddess. And she woke her up. She said, it's time to worship the goddess, to express our devotion to her. You can hear it beeping. I might have to turn it off just because it's making me crazy. I'll be right back. All right, I'm back. Let me get my ears back in. Don't multitask. Don't multitask. Just give it up. Okay, so I'm talking about Algol, the Lilith star, the demonized goddess, and her mergence with Vesta, who is a priestess role. Vesta stands for your sacred sexual fire. Our sexuality, our life force energy is our energy that rises up in us, that it becomes our creative force, our spiritual force. It feeds every aspect of our humanity and our growth. And so it gets turned on when we are tuned in spiritually and when we are practicing our purpose and being in a place of devotion to what is true for us. And so it's time to bring the demonized goddess out of the closet. She is not a demon, although she may be terrifying and terrible. That is a lie of the patriarchy, that she is demonized, and this is her time. So, Vesta is taking a stand as a priestess of the dark goddess. And what happened, which amazed me because I didn't see it coming, was instead of rolling right on over Algol, she stopped at Algol and began a retrograde through Taurus. And around the time of my birthday, first week of March, she's going to be reuniting with the dark goddess again. So, this is activated right now by the moon. By this full moon, the moon is sitting there right with Vesta, imbuing her power with emotional force. So use that. This is a power that is available to you as you do this deep healing around your lineage. And there's something else that's happening right now that I'm going to mention briefly. It has to do with the Lilith star Algol again. She is the focus of a yod formation. Across the chart, Mars in Libra and Jupiter in Sagittarius are in what I call a close harmony. It's a sextile. And so as they are singing this close harmony, you have these big masculine influences, fire and fury and masculine eroticism with Jupiter's more benevolent, expansive, abundant energy, and they are both in a place of adoration and sending their energies to this goddess, the Lilith star. So pay attention to that. It's amplifying her energy. Now, this is the consistent. Okay, Vesta and Algol has been consistent throughout these few months, like 6 months of energy around that. Another long-standing aspect that has been playing out for solidly for all of 2019 and will continue into 2020, maybe even through the whole of 2020, is a sextile between QB1, also known as Albion, and Nessus. Now, who are these critters? These beings are QB1 stands for the thresholder. Astronomically, this object was the first one discovered beyond Pluto other than comets. And so it demonstrated that our solar system is much bigger than we ever dreamed before. And so he became understood to the few astrologers who follow him to be the one who holds open the gate, the thresholder. What are the gates? Birth, death, and our sexuality, the ignition of this life force that I just talked about, orgasm. So we can access orgasm throughout our lives in so many ways, including sexual activity. Birth and death, we tend to access once, although, as you will see in a moment, we touch it throughout our lives. It is what gives our life meaning, the fact that we are born and that we die. So, QB1, the thresholder, is talking to Nessus. Nessus is the planet that stands for healing the legacy of abuse. And very often he's connected with sexual abuse, inappropriate touch, rape. That's part of his mythology. It can be other kinds of abuse, and it can go back generations. When I do charts for clients, sometimes we see a Nessus that is active in this lifetime. Sometimes we see a Nessus that is active in the past, but it's still having impact in this lifetime. And sometimes we see a Nessus where that material is largely settled. The healing has been done. What is that is true for you right now? As a planet, all of us on this planet are being told, look at that material again. Check back into your history. It could be the history of race, the history of colonialism, the history of white supremacy. We all partake of that. Definitely considering that Nessus right now is in a series of making contact with the United States natal Nessus at 9 Pisces. It has to do with all of those things. White supremacy, colonialism, patriarchy, and the abuse of power over women, indigenous peoples, the earth. This is up for healing, and it's up for healing in your personal life as well. Now is the time. Scorpio, Mercury retrograde in Scorpio, is giving you new information to work with. Do not be afraid of this information. Seek it out, listen to it, and work with it. Now, one reason I'm talking about this so much right now is because during this Mercury retrograde period, there's a lot of contact. This sextile is being activated by whatever happens at 7, 8, 9 Scorpio. At the moment Mercury turned retrograde on October 31st, when the veils were very thin, the sun was at 7 Scorpio. It lit opposite QB1, lighting up this triangle of energy. And it was trine. A trine is a flow of energy. It's not as close as a sextile. It's not the same as a conjunction, but it's a flow. It says, we are sending energy your direction. Pay attention to this. And So it was lit up by the sun on that day earlier. Mercury had touched it a few weeks earlier. Then the sun touched it. Venus touched that point and activated that aspect. And now today, with the full moon, the crone goddess Hecate is activating it. She is at 8 Scorpio opposite QB1. Now, why is this important? All right, one thing I like to do when I'm doing these readings is go back and look up some of these entities, the archetypes, just to see if there's something new. Now, one thing that I was reminded of, is that Hecate is incredibly ancient. She is one of the oldest goddesses of the Greek area, the Eastern Mediterranean area. She's an ancient agricultural goddess. And she was not always either a crone or a triple goddess. She was fertility and mother and femininity and young and beautiful. Not the old hag we now tend to associate her with. And so that is an older time. It's almost as if as some of this knowledge spread through Europe, even in Roman times, Hecate became associated with triple goddesses. And at the crossroads, we tend to see her, for some reason, we see her as the crone. Now, I think it may be because she's a thresholder. And the crone has been born. The crone is staring death in the face, and she has assisted generations with birthing and with dying. And she herself has completely, in the old days at least, she has completely assimilated and integrated her own sexual wisdom. So I feel like right now, Hecate in Scorpio is the crone, and she is at the crossroads. She is at the threshold. And she also, part of her mythology is that she conducted Persephone back and forth between Hades, between the underworld, in her partnership with Hades, where she would go down and be his wife during the winter months and then return to the surface and be with her mother and bring forth fertility and fruitfulness. Gosh, that's potent. And Hecate is the elder who guided her safely back and forth through this journey, which is perilous by definition. And so our own underworld journey, many of us, if you've lived to midlife and done any personal work, you have taken both the unconscious and the conscious underworld journey. And many of us are in the midst of it. Right now, this time is an invitation. And maybe this is a retreat of an afternoon. Maybe it's the beginning of a long initiation. I repeat, do not be afraid of this. Let this material rise up in you. It is time to listen for the things we don't talk about. Listen to those deep messages. Here's something I just discovered today, which blows my mind. That's why I can't, sometimes I get tired of astrology and I want to stop doing this. And then I see what I'm seeing during this 6-week time with Vesta and Algol, and now Mercury and Hecate. Mercury and Hecate meet on the day that Mercury turns direct. That's November 20th here where I live. And Mercury meets her and turns direct, and then Hecate travels with him for a solid week. So they are walking together, and I can just imagine, he had a moment when he turned When he turned retrograde, he had a moment with Venus and Pallas Athene, gathering information from the divine feminine, the light-filled air goddesses. Now he's with the goddess who is familiar with the underworld. And she's spending a week with him, and I think she's giving him a tutorial on what messages he needs to bring as he continues around the wheel of the world. This is a potent metaphor for you to sit with that crone at the crossroads. Every single one of us is facing a big decision. We have paths ahead. The roads less traveled, the places we don't want to go, healing journeys. I'm with a friend now who is facing a healing journey she had no idea she would be doing, at the beginning of 2019, and she's completing 2019 in a pretty intense state, and it's going to work out beautifully. It will be a success. It is a success. Oh, but it's intense and it's painful right now. This could be any of us. What will your journey be like? And what's so incredible about these crossroads moments is that sometimes we want to see the road ahead. We want to see the sun come up down the road and to say, oh, look, a happy ending. I know where I'm going. And this is where desire is so important, because the only sunshine on our future is our desire. What do we want? And so we use all of the resources at our disposal to begin to create that. And yet at the beginning of the road, at the crossroads where we are making our decision, sometimes all we can see are the obstacles. Or we may actually see something that looks like pain and misfortune. Or we may think it looks like sunshine, and when we get there, the very next step is pain and misfortune. This is being human. This is the work that we do. And Hecate says, I cannot choose for you, but I'm holding up a lantern and I'm showing you your next step. It's up to you to take it. And if you are like me, and sometimes you would just stand there forever like a stump saying, I am afraid to choose, something will come barreling along behind you or reach out from ahead of you and pull you forward, and you will lose some of your power of decision. And you're left with whatever you've got. And thankfully, you are powerful. You can make amazing things out of whatever you've got. It is more potent, more divine to follow your desire and to trust yourself to be able to make good decisions when you find yourself at the crossroads. And often that obstacle that you're seeing will relate to Nessus material and QB1. So I see a lot of people have found me and joined here. Thank you. Welcome, everyone. Melissa, Lecrene, and Geraldine, and I don't know who else has come in and come and gone. We're about winding up, so in a moment this will be posted and you can watch it from the beginning. And please do comment and share this with friends. If you know friends who need to hear it or groups who need to hear it, that would be so helpful to disseminate this information. A lot of people in the world need to hear this particular version of what's going on with Mercury retrograde and the full moon. Hi, Brianna. Thank you. So I'm going to see what I have to do to wind up here. I might be complete. Well, yeah, just about. So all I want to do is just encourage you to find some quiet time. One of the things that we don't do is allow stillness. This is a time, especially in the Northern Hemisphere, for us to begin to go within and to get quiet. And modern life doesn't require it. We have, internal combustion engines and electricity and telephones and iPhones that can keep us connected and busy and working 24/7. Find a moment to turn all that off and listen to the messages that Mercury is dredging up and that Hecate is showing you how to heal. And I believe I will call it complete. Thank you so much for joining me. Please do let me know if you'd like an astrology reading, and I'll tell you how to get one. And my blessings to you on this full moon. Bye-bye.